Good to see you guys here today. I did just want to put one more reminder out about the Fifth Sunday singing tonight. 5 o'clock is when we'll start singing. We've got a varied selection between a few different song leaders here, from old to new. So I hope you guys would join us. I encourage you to do that for a time of fellowship and singing. I also wanted to say, on Dennis's note of getting scared to come up here and pray in front of people, that's a scary thing. And take it from me, I know I look pretty confident, but I'm scared every time I get up here, and I think that's rightfully so. Rightfully so. So we've been talking about summer, and I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but summer's kind of winding out. It's August. We just got like one more. I mean, you can get snow anytime in September, right? We've seen snow in September. Snow by definitely Halloween, no doubt, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. I knew it was going to be a bummer. But summer's coming. It's, last third coming up here. So I guess I better talk about my last few summer sermons a little bit here this week and next week. Last week, you might have remembered, I talked about being in a hurry to get things done, shared about that, and actually it was 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to connect today's to that, because today I want to talk about something we all enjoy in summer: taking a getaway. I want to talk about a summer getaway. And most of you guys already know this, but at the beginning of last week, because it's Sunday now, it's not summer? That's summer. Look at all the lakes. All right. You guys know at the beginning of this week, most of you do anyway, Courtney and I took off. Lots of people tried to get a hold of me, and we weren't able to get a hold of because we were gone. We were gone Monday and Tuesday, got back Wednesday early morning. We went on a getaway. We took the van, we went camping, went out to Green River Lakes, long way around, and just spent some time out there, because it's awesome to get away in the summertime, isn't it? Kind of take a break from daily life, go out there, whether you're a camper or maybe you go to the Bahamas. I don't know what your getaways look like, but just to take a break from normal life, from work, to get away and to just have some peace, it feels like, right? And summer's a great time to do that. I think we can get away during the wintertime, in the summertime, fall, spring, whenever, but summer's a great time to do it, especially if you're like us, you want to go camping, right? You can actually get places in the summertime. So we had a blast. We took our getaway, we went and kayaked, we went and camped, we kayaked across a lake and up a river and across another lake, and we got to see this mountain that Courtney's been wanting to see since we've moved here, and we had a blast. But I don't know if this ever happens to you. Sometimes your getaways are like more work than just normal life. Or you come back and you're like, man, I'm tired. Traveling, driving, camping, picking up, kayaking. Sometimes getaways can be not as peaceful as we think. But today I want to talk about how we really should be taking getaways. How getaways, finding times of peacefulness, taking a break from the busyness of life, how that's more than just a good thing to do for you, but it's a good thing to do for your spiritual life as well. And so, like I said, it kind of ties back into the sermon of being in a hurry. What's one of the responses we should have to being in a hurry? Well, it should be a response of time to get away. So this might look like lots of different things for you, but I want to encourage you that it's more than just a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. It might look like taking a camping trip, or like I said, flying to Hawaii or whatever, but it might also look like turning off the cell phone for a whole day, unplugging the internet, just spending some time with your family the whole day, not even worrying about anybody. Just looking at your life and taking a getaway. So I want to talk about that for a little bit today. But before I talk about the spiritual side of things, let me tell you something I found was kind of interesting. Even without the spiritual aspect to a getaway, science is proving in studies that getaways are healthy. Did you know that? This is like real science. I was all over Weird Science this week. And one of the studies done by the State University of New York wanted to study if vacations and getaways will do anything for your heart health. Like very specific, right? So they studied 12,000 middle-aged men, which I'm slowly getting closer to, so we're going to not worry about that. But they studied 12,000 middle-aged men. And when they studied them, they gave some a getaway, some a vacation, and some just normal life. And what they wanted to see was, would their cardiovascular, would their heart health be better? And what they found out is not only was their heart health better, but they were less likely to die overall. They studied it for 12 years too, so I don't know, maybe they're just waiting for people to die. But I found that kind of interesting. Not only are you less likely to have heart attacks and your heart health is better, they did conclude that, but they found overall health-wise, you're less likely to die. All because you got away? All because you took a vacation? All because you drove your camper up a really bumpy road just for a couple of days? Interesting. See, the physical health thing is huge, but I think the spiritual health thing is even more. We talk about getting away throughout Scripture, and probably the very first thing you think about is Old Testament, right? They had a fancy day and a fancy word for getaway. They called it Sabbath, right? What is Sabbath? Well, Sabbath is described pretty well for us in Exodus chapter 20, and if you want to open your Bibles, this is out of the ESV where I'm going to be reading. But Exodus chapter 20, I'm going to pick up here in verse 8, and we can read this together, but basically put, Sabbath is a specific set-aside day for rest, right, for the Hebrew. Exodus chapter 20, again, starting in verse 8, back in the Old Testament. It reads, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all of your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, not you, your son, your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, your livestock, or the sojourner who is within your gates. For 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy." Go back to the second book of the Bible, 20th chapter, Exodus 20. What do we see? Well, we see a description of what the Sabbath is. What is it? Well, it's kind of rules, isn't it? What are the rules for? Well, the rules are that on the sixth day, 6 days, you can work. You can do all of your hard work, but on that last day, on the seventh day, that's the Sabbath day. And on that day, you shouldn't do any work, right? You shouldn't do any work. Your kids shouldn't do any work. Your cows shouldn't do any work. And if somebody stopped to visit you, they shouldn't do any work either. It was put so extremely to a rule that there must be a day of rest. That's what Sabbath was for them. It was a specific day of rest. So that's the law of the Sabbath, right? The law is that you had to take that one day. And as we continued in history, we've talked about this some before, but they started making laws to their law, right? You could walk this far, you could carry this much, you could do this much on a Sabbath day, but, they started making laws within laws about what the rules were. But the point wasn't that there had to be a law of a day. The point was what? On the seventh day, God rested. You should rest on the seventh day as well. Take a rest. Take a break. Stop being in a hurry. Stop working and refocus on the Lord. Refocus on the Lord. Do we ever think about that in Sabbath, or do we always just think about the law? Part of the Sabbath was rest, but also it was to focus on the Lord, to think about the blessings that he gave them, to think about all of the things that he is working in their lives, to think about how he will be sending a Messiah, and then refocus on what God created. God was to be the focus of the Sabbath day, but like I said, they started to miss it, and sometimes when we miss it, or we read it, we miss it as well. But part of the piece here in Exodus chapter 20 is actually a reference to God himself, isn't it? Genesis chapter 2. Exodus 20 refers to Genesis chapter 2 when God created, when God did work. The first 3 verses of the second chapter of the whole Bible, it reads, "Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work that he had done." So God blessed, deleted a D, I'm sorry. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all of his work that he had done in all creation. Exodus chapter 20, the idea of a Sabbath, the idea of a rest day, where does it actually come from at its core? It comes from the example that God gave himself. How many of you guys have known this story from a kid, right? You sing the days, day one, God made light when there was none. And you get to day 7, God rested up in heaven. It doesn't say that necessarily, but he rested, right? We know this song, and as a kid, I knew this story, and I don't know why, but I always thought, God, he set up a hammock between the trees, and he just laid back. I don't know why God needed a hammock, right? But I at least started to get the point of what rest was. In days 1 through 6, God did a lot of incredible work. I mean, he created everything. He created the mountains and the lakes that Courtney and I got to enjoy earlier this week. He created the birds and the animals and the skies and the sun and everything. And it was a lot. He did a lot of good work, even in God's terms. But despite all that good work he didn't just keep on hustling. He took a break right at the end. He took a break on day 7 to rest up in heaven, if you will. But I like to think now as an adult, maybe less that he sits back in a hammock, and maybe more that on the 7th day when he rested, he wandered around and looked at everything that he had done. After everything he made, he said it was good. So I kind of like to think that God's rest on that 7th day was looking at all that goodness. Because man, didn't he make a lot of goodness? But the example was still there, and it connected back to what the Jews should be doing for the Sabbath. Exactly like God did, do good work all week long, but take a break. Rest a day. Marvel at what God has done, just like God himself marveled at what he has done. Take a rest. Take a Sabbath. So the Old Testament, they had it. God had it. What about other people throughout Bible? Anybody else rest except for just the Jews and God? Well, Sabbath and rest are linked, and one of my favorite stories about taking a rest is in 1 Kings. And I'm going to use this word rest pretty heavily for the rest of the sermon today. But 1 Kings 19, if you want to open your Bibles there, it's a good chunk of reading, so that's why I put it up there. But I find this story so funny, and it's about Elijah the prophet. 1 Kings 19, starting in verse 4 through 8. So Elijah is who we're talking about. Verse 4, he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a broom tree. And he asked that he might die, saying, "It is enough now, Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers." And he laid down and slept under that broom tree. And behold, an angel touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." And he looked on the hot stones and a jar of water, and there was a cake baked. He ate and he drank, and he lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." And he arose and he ate and he drank and went in strength of that food for what? For 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. So we kind of pick up in the middle of the story, but we pick up at the funny part, right? Elijah, a prophet, working for the Lord, making a journey. He's halfway there, and what's he say? "Oh, I'm too tired. I'm going to die. Just let me die. I'm so tired. It's too much." That's what he says, right? He cries out to God and says, "Let me die like my fathers." What a bummer was Elijah right there, wasn't he? He wasn't really a motivational speaker. Yeah, he's really being a really big bummer. And so what's God do? Well, God lets him take a break. First thing we see after he cries out, first off, God doesn't kill him like he asked. Thank you, God. But instead, he lets him take a nap. He lets him sleep under that tree, and he awakes him after his nap with an angel saying, "Get up, I made you lunch," right? "Arise and eat. There's water and there's a hot cake on a rock." Sounds pretty good. So he gives him a nap and a snack. And then he lets him have another nap and another snack so that he might have courage and strength to go 40 more days. 40 more days on that food. He needed some rest. He was being dramatic about it, yeah. But what did God give him? Like I said, a nap and a snack. That's all he needed. He needed some rest. So if you don't take anything away today except for this, if you're grumpy and you want to die, just ask God for a nap and a snack. It'll be better. Sometimes you need 2 in a row, but it'll be better. And I could support that fact because Jesus himself took naps. Jesus himself took a rest, right? Oh, we're not getting there yet. Let me show you the verse about Jesus taking a rest himself. Oh, where am I at? He's in the boat. Where are we at? In Mark chapter 4. There we go. I was like, man, you might have remembered I talked about calm in the storms about 2 months ago now. But in Mark chapter 4, Jesus is doing what in the boat? He's sleeping. And again, we have some more dramatic people. The apostles are like, Jesus, don't you care we're going to die? You're taking a nap. And he gets up and calms the storm. But in the midst of all the work he was doing in Mark, in midst of all of the ministry work he was doing, what's he do? Even in the storm, he takes a nap. He takes a nap. So if you don't take anything away today, just remember, when you're grumpy and you want to die, get a nap and a snack. It's a form of rest. It's a form of Sabbath. It's a form of rest. It's a form of Sabbath. But talking about Jesus, maybe more than him just taking a nap and the apostles freaking out, Jesus lived this out. As a human and as God, he lived out the idea of rest. And it's actually kind of funny to me because the fact that he was God, he didn't ever have to sleep. He didn't ever have to pray. He didn't ever have to have times alone, but yet he did that. He was God. But he did that because of the human side of things. And this is all in the midst of doing incredible ministry. Jesus takes breaks and rests. A few examples I have here. Matthew 14:23. Jesus dismisses the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowd, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And when evening came, he was there alone. Now, this is not exactly like the Sabbath of the old law, is it? But is it not a time of rest? Jesus was doing ministry, teaching, walking, journeying, and in the midst of all of that, he says, time for me to take a break. Time for me to take a break. So what's he do? Well, he goes away from the crowds. He goes up on a mountain. Excellent place to take a rest, if you ask me. Up on a mountain, and he was there all night, alone. I skipped a part. While he was alone, while he was taking rest, what was he focused on? He was praying. Again, he was God. He doesn't have to pray. That's weird. He's praying to his Father. He's talking to his Father. He's connecting back with his Father. This is a theme you'll see over and over again. When it comes to time of rest, they're not just about you being dramatic and getting a nap all the time. Sometimes they're taking a nap and having a prayer, connecting back with God. Jesus is a prime example of that over and over again. Luke chapter 4, again, you can find Jesus taking a rest in all of the Gospels, but I just picked a few. Luke chapter 5, verses 15 and 16, this is out of the ESV. But now, even more, the report about him, about Jesus, went all abroad, and great crowds gathered to hear him to be healed of their infirmaries. But he would withdraw to a desolate place or desolate places to pray. So Jesus is doing ministry work. Last time we have it recorded, right here in Matthew, he told the crowds that he needed to go take a break. Here, the crowds are gathering to hear him and to be healed. And what's it say? It says, even though there was lots of work to do, he went away. If we want to live like Jesus, sometimes we need to stop the work and go away to have a rest. But sometimes when the work is surrounding us and there's lots of ministry to do and lots of people to reach, I need a break first. The work wasn't done yet, was it? Sometimes I think, again, a part of our American culture is the hustle culture we live in. We got to work, work, work until we can take the break. But right here in the middle of all the work that needed to be done, all the ministry, Jesus took a break. Something good for me to remember. There's always more ministry to do. You don't have to finish it before you can take a rest. And Jesus didn't just live it, he taught it. He extended this idea of taking a rest, taking a prayer break, if you will, and he gave it to his apostles to live out. Mark chapter 6, verse 30 through 32. The apostles are returning from great ministry work, and they come to him and tell him all they had done and taught. And he said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while. For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure to eat. And they went away in the boat to a desolate place by themselves." So here in Mark chapter 6, we shift from Jesus just taking rest by himself and going out to pray by himself. But what's he do? Well, he teaches his apostles to do the same. He teaches the apostles to do the same thing he's been living out. And the apostles come back and they are excited. Do you read that in the text? They've been out doing work and teaching, coming and going. There are lots of people, and they wanted to come tell Jesus of all they had done. And it's almost as if Jesus says, I don't want to hear it. Go take a break. Maybe nicer than that, right? I mean, that's Harold. But he says, go take a breather, go take a rest, go find a desolate place and pray, even though there's still lots to be done, and even though you have done a lot. Go take a break. Jesus told the apostles to do that. And I think Jesus is telling us to do that as well. And it's kind of funny because I don't think we do quite the same amount of ministry work as Jesus and the apostles were doing. But I think the principle should still apply. We might run back from doing lots of work and want to share with God what we've done, but we need to share in a rest. And there will still be many people coming and going, lots of ministry to be doing. But have you ever got like the apostles here? Have you ever been doing so much that you even forget to eat? I do that sometimes. It'd be like, a full day of busyness. It'd be like 8 o'clock at night. I'm thinking we should make dinner. I'm like, I haven't eaten anything all day. In college, I used to have the joke that a cheese stick and a Red Bull was a full meal. It's not. See, we can kind of get in the same groove as the apostles are here, and we forget to rest. And when I say rest, I connect it back to God and pray. We forget to do that because we got so much work to do. The apostles had so much work to do, and it's good work. It could be ministry. It could be helping people. It could be serving people, but we got to take a break and rest. It's spiritual. It's not just physical. Sometimes we do need a nap and a snack. Sometimes we do need to eat, but also we need the spiritual connection back to God in a time of rest. We need a summer getaway. And I don't know what it'll look like for you. It might look like a camping trip. It might look like a vacation to Hawaii. And now that I say this out loud, I'm realizing that nobody's going to be here next week because I said to take a getaway. But whatever your getaway looks like, go find some rest. Find some rest. And I don't just mean the physical rest, but be like Jesus. Go take some time alone. Go take a getaway and talk to God. Communicate with Him. He told His apostles to do that. He told us to do that, and He lived it out. But also, let me say, He went to the mountains. He went away from the people. He stayed overnight. He got away from the crowds. A getaway can be a good thing. But like I said, sometimes our getaways can become more work than just staying at home. That's not the point. The point is to get away and become closer to God, to focus on your spiritual life. So next week, if there's only like 2 or 3 people here, you can blame me, because I told you that right now, summer is the best time for a getaway. But a getaway needs to be with the Lord, not just with yourself. So take a little Sabbath.